Welcome to IAB Canada's podcast, The Business of Digital.
Within hours.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and we are in Calgary this week for the kickoff of the State of the Nation West Edition, and I'm sitting here at Star Metro with Colin Vo, a digital media sales specialist. And Colin, thank you for having us today.
Glad you guys could make it. Happy to be here.
We're happy to be here. And specifically happy to be sitting in the offices of what one of your colleagues has just talked about. Corey Jackson just talked about the fact that you're tremendously successful in the local media space. So today I would really like to talk about local media, and I'd like to talk about your role in it. I'd like to talk about Star Metro's journey and what the outlook is for journalism and for media sales and innovation in this space.
That sounds great. I think the timing is perfect with what's going on at Star Metro. You hit a couple of nails on the head, including journalism, what's going on in the local space. So I'm excited to talk about it as well.
Okay. Well, then, where do we begin?
Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with the organization. So
Sure.
Let's talk about, because there was a rebranding going on. So let's talk about that and a little bit about the history of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So not too long ago, a couple months ago, April 10th, we switched in Calgary, Vancouver, Edmonton, Ottawa, and Halifax to Star Metro, whereas before we were Metro. Metro is a worldly recognized brand and logo. They're in over 200 cities around the world. The Green Globe gives it away. But in Canada specifically, Metro was owned by the Toronto Star. Mm-hmm. And part of what we wanted to do in terms of the rebrand and the transformation, as we're calling it, is to nationalize through localization. And what we meant by that is focus on localizing our efforts in journalism, bringing journalism down to the grassroots level, which we've done by adding to our editorial team. In all my years of doing, as far as being part of the media, about 8 or 9 years now, I don't think I've ever seen that happen in publishing or in publishers where we're actually adding bodies. So the commitment
what's going
to
on?
that.
Is it pre-investment or is it a sign of demand?
Both.
Okay.
Absolutely both. I think the appetite for local media has never been greater in terms of what we're seeing, whether it's focus groups or just general studies out there are showing us and indicating that the public has that desire for local media, local news, community news, which is fantastic. And in order to pre-plan, as you succinctly put it, we knew we had to invest in journalism.
Well, that is incredible. So
is.
that's really good news, and it's not just good news for corporate reasons, mm-hmm. but from a citizen perspective, from a consumer perspective. For years now we've been talking about the plight of local journalism and the fact that this was starting to impact our nationally and internationally our access to information. Which is a really critical thing. And so to see that there's life being breathed into this again, and I wonder what you think the rationale might be for that. I wonder if it has something to do with trust, or authenticity, or just the fact that the pendulum might be shifting back to community feel. Maybe all of the above?
All of the above.
Amazing.
In our world of fake news, and I know that was a big 2017 word, but it's still out there. And what we wanted to do was combat that, knowing that we were so deeply entrenched in the communities, and not just speaking from a Calgary perspective, but in the other markets that Metro was in, we were a great local news source. And in doing so, or in being a part of that local community vibe, we wanted to ensure that our readers were getting the true stories, the community news, the local news, unopinionated to a degree. Obviously, that's our goal too, is to make sure that the news we put out there is investigative. In fact, one of our changes to our editorial teams across the country was to incorporate an investigative desk to each, we'll call it branch in each city, each bureau. And that focus, or that group's focus, was to investigate stories that weren't being investigated, to talk about whether it's local, provincial, regional, and positively affect change. And that was the key crux to the whole transformation. And don't get me wrong, we were in a unique position, as you mentioned, Corey talked to you briefly about how we are a little success story in an industry where everyone is saying print is dying. That's not news. It's fact to a degree. But what we're seeing at Metro especially was that print wasn't dying. We had a model that worked. We developed a niche model and distribution and content-driven product that was being very, very well received. So we didn't need to change. And when we found out about the transformation and the change, it wasn't necessarily a shock. It was why? Why do we need to do this? And when we learned more about it, and it was about what you said about pre-planning and then investment to journalism, all of the above, it all made sense. And now we believe that we're in a great position to drive the product further into the future in terms of showing that print isn't dead. And that's exciting for us.
That is really exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting all around, and I think it's a great lesson, being taught here, I think, to many people, which is, do you, right? Understand
Absolutely.
what you are,
Yeah.
and commit 100%. And don't look for all the shiny objects. Don't worry about it. Just continue to invest in what you know is your strength. So that's really, congratulations.
Oh.
I think that's really, quite a great story.
Thank you. And I mean, we're only in the beginnings of the transformation. We know we have a long way to go, but the beauty behind it is we're committed to this change, and we're nimble and flexible, and we're willing to say that we're wrong in certain cases, and we'll change on the fly. And that's the exciting part about this journey is, again, we didn't need to do it, but we felt like we had to do it in terms of the product itself, the commitment to our readers, commitment to what we hold as far as our values, and it's exciting. It's really exciting, and that's not just in print. It's going to transform how we do digital. Maybe that's my little segue here, but it's exciting to see that in a day and age when there are a lot of maybe not necessarily misnomers, but perceptions about the industry, that we're willing to take that leap and commit back to what journalism or what print media is all about, and that's the journalism. That's the core of it all, and we'll use that as our base to as our launch pad even to take off to wherever it takes us.
So when you think about the transformation and then translating that into digital, and considering all of the issues that publishers have been dealing with over the past few years, the disruption that's been caused through platforms, and the explosion of video content that caught a lot of print players off guard, to be honest.
Absolutely.
And social media and citizen journalism and all of the there's a lot of disruptors. The classifieds.
Yeah. Exactly.
Let's not even go there. But when you think about all of those different disruptions and the issues that you're faced with, how do you reconcile that, and how do you move forward in a space where really the supporting, I guess, pillars of ad sales and ad revenue that was supporting journalism for so many years, literally hundreds of years, for those to be disrupted so to the core, what's the new plan? What's the strategy moving forward?
Yeah, I think we have a couple of different strategies on the go, but one of the main ones is not to keep coming back to it, but that local quality journalism. I think myself personally, and I guess on a company level, we believe that if we are able to build that trust with our readers, get them in the habit of reading our print edition and our online edition, we'll be able to win back that audience that has been disrupted. We know that there are limitations to what we can do, and are we going to compete with YouTube? Probably not. That's probably not a fight we want to battle or take a part of. But when it comes to the actual journalism and having our readers have that affiliation with their local newspaper or one of their local newspapers in terms of Star Metro Calgary, that's what we want to do. We want to be really good at it. I love what you said about do you, because that's what we're doing. We're not copying any model. We are trying to do what we know we can do best, which is deliver that quality news, whether it's print, digital, mobile. We'll add in video when it comes necessary. And we'll adapt. We'll try and figure out what the next trend is and try and stay ahead of that. And right now, the big buzzwords, of course, are data scientists. And we've brought on data scientists to our team, which we've never had before. And their main goal and their main projects that they're working on is try and learn more about our consumers and our readers and figure out how do we get them what they want, when they want, and get them to come back. And that's the game we're all trying to play. Whether it's us or any other disruptor out there, we're all trying to get that eyeball and that attention and that engagement. And I think with our commitment to that whole transformation process, it wasn't just a new logo and hopefully we attracted some extra eyeballs. It's a 3-year plan. It's a 10-year plan. It's to see what we can do as far as evolving ourselves, as well as evolving to the change of the industry and how people are consuming media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'd like to shift a little bit and
Sure.
talk a little bit about the buy side,
Mm-hmm.
and now understanding, having a really clear vision of the product that you're creating, or recreating, or let's just say revitalizing.
Yes, great word.
So when you do that and you start attracting the readers, things will probably fall into place. But have you seen any sort of a shift in the investors? So have you seen a shift on the buy side of who is interested in your product? You talked earlier, and I'd like to touch on it today, on the economy. And for a lot of people, they look at the economy as, if small businesses are doing well, that's a huge indicator.
Absolutely.
Of where things are going. And if there's a dip, then we've got problems. So in your opinion, and from your experience over the past 9 years,
Mm-hmm.
have you seen a shift in who is making up the most of the revenue generation?
Yeah, on a local level, I think it's no secret that there are national efforts that are disrupting what we're doing locally, and for better or for worse, that's just the nature of the business. In terms of any insight into what I personally see, I do believe that there has been a shift more towards local. Is it heavily pronounced? Maybe not yet, but I think in certain conversations with agencies and direct buyers in town, Calgary specifically, we're seeing the word trust come up a lot. And not to say that there's a definitive mistrust with maybe national agencies or efforts, but I think there is a lot of concern about whether it's transparency or reporting, and those are things that we are looking at enhancing as far as our digital portfolio goes. So I think trust has been a really big word. One agency, particularly in town, and they're across Canada, they said directly that if there is a way they can buy local, buy direct, and get the same level of service or more, even though they know they might be paying a little bit more, they're more than happy to do so because they have that relationship. Yeah.
Well, we've proven that to be true on a number of levels, that Canadian, specifically Canadian premium content,
Mm-hmm.
performs really well.
Yeah.
And last year we did a study, I'm not sure if you saw it, but,
I did, yeah.
But we shared it, I think during our brand safety event, but then also across a lot of webinars. That a study with Moat and IEB showed that across viewability and brand safety and valid traffic,
Yes.
the Canadian premium publishers outperformed global players, which obviously is a great source of pride for us. So I get what you're saying, that there's the trust in a product from a consumer perspective. So it's the trust in the content that they're reading, so that there's that halo effect, right?
Absolutely.
Of piggybacking off of brands that have established relationships with the readership. And then also, it's just really great news to be able to support that with, and also, it's great on the other stats as well.
Absolutely. And, the halo effect, it's one of those things that we learned about last year at the State of the Nation in 2017, but when ComScore presented their halo effect, I almost wanted to jump up and cheer. It was one of those things that we've been trying to put out there. We've been trying to tell our advertisers and our clients that there is a direct correlation to trust and premium publisher content. So you bring it up now, but it's something that resounded with me since last year, and it's something I've been trying to preach, because it is true. Trust is, especially in this day and age. We already talked about fake news, but in this day and age with so many different options out there, it's hard to find one that you can trust, and I like to think that what we're doing is increasing our credibility, and I know it's not just us. There are other vendors out there that are doing that, but from a Star Metro perspective and in my little bubble, I'm very positive and pretty happy with the direction we're going, building that trust through our print, our online, and not just taking it for granted, making sure that we build on it, making sure that we continue to evolve as the media landscape evolves.
And what about time flies. Time flies when you're talking to stimulating conversions. I don't even know if that's a word, but anyways, what I wanted to make sure that we talked about was innovation.
Yes.
And looking at some of the conversations we're having at the IAB around audio and around video and all of the different opportunities that are presenting themselves. What is your take on them, and are you going to start integrating some of those, or is that something that you're still, when you say, or when we say, do you, does it include extensions into those areas, or is it still one format or two formats?
It absolutely does. I mean, we recognize obviously that in order to be, I hate using the word relevant, but maybe that might be the best word here. In order to be relevant in the digital space, we do have to at least acknowledge all of the things that are going on. And I'm really excited to hear about the audio presentation that we'll be hearing about tomorrow. So things like that, when they come across our radar, what we're excited to do is bring it up the chain. And I don't think prior to the transformation we had that ability, but now that we have new structures in place. I mentioned data scientists, but they're not the only people we've added. All these bright digital minds across the entire country, and the backgrounds they've come from, whether it's cellular or publisher or networks, agencies, where we're adding such a unique stable of talent. And the ability to actually go to them and I will after tomorrow say, hey, this audio thing, it's cool. Like, is it something we can do? And not get a hard no. That's exciting to me. So that's something we're always looking at doing, because again, relevant might not be the best word, but for all intents and purposes, we understand that our site is growing. We're happy with it. But in order to actually fully service the needs of our clients, we would have to diversify what we can offer them. Yeah, so it's exciting to hear about new things, and it's exciting to learn about what other people are doing and do it in our own way still, but obviously take the learnings that we can from them and see if that's something we can incorporate in what we do.
Last question.
Sure.
And so that's all very exciting. And Taylor and I, our director of events, and I, when we landed, we looked at your office space and we thought, this would be a really great place to work. It's so quiet though around here. Well, how's the talent pool? Are there people, or is Calgary a great market for recruiting, or are you on the hunt? Are people coming in from other cities in Alberta, or what's the scenario?
Calgary is a great city for talent. normally I would bash Edmonton because of our rivalry, but Edmonton has a great pool of talent as well. And last year, after you guys rolled into town, myself and a couple of the folks, after you actually mentioned it, Sonia, we need a Calgary council. A couple of us put our hands up, and we've met monthly over the last little while just to get this council off the ground. But one of the talking points at almost every meeting is, how do we attract more people to this council? How do we get more people involved? And I know we've kind of had some stumbles. I mean, our other priorities kind of get in the way of what we want to do with the IEB, but it hasn't really taken our eye off the ball in terms of thinking about social event, thinking about networking events, not necessarily on the behalf of IEB, but the industry in general. It's a small pool, and there are a lot of familiar faces that are at one agency or another agency or another disruptor, we'll call them that. But there are a lot of them around, and we know that they would be interested in this. And what we wanted to do, right now we're a team of 3. One of our team members moved to Toronto. I think he'll join your team out there. But we're a team of 3 strong, and we believe and we know in our dealings and our workings that Calgary has the potential to rival any other city in terms of the talent. The fact that we have a couple of major universities and colleges in the area that have digital media programs, and in the last 4 or 5 years, I believe if you wanted to do something like that, it would be Toronto specifically, or maybe even Vancouver. So now that we have colleges and universities offering programs in digital advertising and media and digital marketing, we have an influx of people looking to expand their horizons and learn more about digital. So that's my long-winded answer of absolutely. Calgary, Edmonton, Alberta, Western Canada. I know there are a lot of folks that would be interested in learning more about digital. And digital is one of the best places to be, in my opinion. Best career move I've made. Maybe that's my plea to everybody here, but it's if you have an appetite for something that's dynamic and changing and evolving, it's a roller coaster ride that doesn't really stop. So absolutely.
Agreed. 21 years.
Yeah,
That's how old the IUB is, and it's how long I've been around. So
fantastic. Yeah.
And I would never consider really something else other than, I don't know.
Yeah.
Coffee shop. It's the extremes, and digital has been so dynamic, and it's really put me in touch with a lot of really brilliant minds, including minds like yours.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you. I can't tell you how much it means to the IAB to have your support out here, and we thank you so much for all the hard work that you're doing to get this off the ground. And anything that we can do to support, we're right there for you, and hopefully, tomorrow will be a great event, and maybe we'll just add 1 or 2 every time we come.
Absolutely, which means you have to come back often.
Yes, we'll have to come back often, and then we'll make sure that we bother Taylor to create some sort of a local media event as well, because we really, really feel that this is an area that doesn't get the exposure that it needs to. Again, not just from our industry perspective. I think that we get caught up in big and programmatic and massive and scale and all that sort of stuff, and we should take our time to really enjoy all of the different facets that are available in digital media, and local is a massive piece of that.
Absolutely, and again, one of my messages to Melanie after the event last year was that I would love to be a part of this council and give my local publisher point of view, and having folks like Jason Godry from iReturn on an agency level, and Janie from ZGM. I'm sure she'll be there tomorrow too. Like, having their perspectives of that agency mentality, that national agency mentality. It's such a great mix of people. And like you said, if we can add a couple more bodies tomorrow, and every time you come to town, it'd be amazing to see what we can turn this into.
Let's do it. All right. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow then.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us on IAB Canada's podcast, The Business of Digital.